Y'all, can I tell you about these Tecovas boots? I don't know if y'all know this, but these boots are handmade, high quality, stylish, and comfortable right out of the box. I know we buy everything online these days, but boots are something you really should get fitted for. And it just so happens Tecovas is based right here in Austin. So come shop with me at the Tecovas store on South Congress or the Domain. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Today on CityCast Austin, after many long months, Austin has a new police chief. Lisa Davis will be heading our way soon. But is she ready to handle Austin PD's many issues? Reporter Tony Plahetsky joins me to discuss. Stay tuned after Tony's interview for a special segment, A Mile in Their Boots, where we feature the unsung heroes of Austin. A Mile in Their Boots and CityCast Austin are brought to you by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tecovas. It's Wednesday, August 6th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here with Tony Plahetsky, reporter for Austin American Statesman and KVUE. Welcome back, Tony. How you doing?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here again. So we got big news. Austin has been searching for a new chief of police since last fall when Chief Joseph Chacon retired, and now it looks like the search is over. So tell us all the latest news.
Well, this process has been, as you mentioned, months in the making, but it culminated with the appointment of Chief Lisa Davis as the city's next police chief following city council confirmation, which is required under city charter. Chief Davis is expected to start here in Austin sometime in September. She's an assistant chief with the Cincinnati Police Department. And so everyone is going to really be looking into and waiting for what she's going to do in her first few weeks and months of being here in Austin. But Nikki, this appointment of Chief Davis is especially significant because it marks only the second time in the history of Austin that the police department has had a permanent female police chief.
So let's talk about that because that is amazing. So do we know who the first female police chief for Austin was?
Her name was Elizabeth Watson, Betsy Watson, and she served in Austin in the 1990s. Again, that was a historic move at the time. But since then, we've had two interim female police chiefs, including the current interim police chief, Chief Robin Henderson. But again, this is only the second time ever that Austin has had a female police chief. Nikki, at a time when women, from what I understand, are still struggling for widespread acceptance in the law enforcement profession nationally.
Right.
And here in Austin, in a progressive community, we still only have a couple of hundred female police officers in a force of about 1,800 officers. So just a fraction are women.
This seems ridiculous to me. When I read this, I was like, that can't be right. But because Austin is so progressive, how do you think male and female chiefs differ?
Well, based on reporting that we've done, female law enforcement officers advocate for growing acceptance within the profession, saying that it is so important because they bring a different kind of professionalism. For example, in certain instances, they may be able to better relate to victims of crime. That is one thing that has been said to me. But just in terms of perspective and bringing diverse perspectives to policing in Austin, of course, many people believe that it is really critical, mission critical, to have a different representation of voices, including female voices.
I feel excited to break up the boys club. I'll be very, very honest. So a little bit about her. Lisa Davis is the Cincinnati PD Assistant Chief. She was with the department from 1992 to now. U.S. Navy veteran, bachelor's degree from Xavier University, Police Executive Leadership College. I'm curious, did you hear anything about Lisa Davis throughout this process that either like surprised or impressed you?
I think any time that a person rises through the ranks of his or her department, there's sort of an automatic, in my mind, can be an automatic credibility that goes along with that. That's not necessarily an easy thing to do. I'm certainly not a woman in law enforcement, but my understanding is that it is particularly challenging for female law enforcement officers. So I think that automatically brings a level of credibility and respect in the minds of many people.
I'm always impressed by any, personally, just from my lens, any woman
Yeah.
that I imagine the things that she has had to deal with to climb those ranks. Now, Cincinnati is about one third of the size of Austin. Do you think that that's a concern?
Well, the truth is that has been raised as a concern. And so, Nikki, if we look back just over the past several months as this whole process has unfolded, let's go back in time. Several months ago, the city released the applications and resumes of about 36 people who applied to be Austin's next police chief. So, as you can imagine, we went through all of those applications and really tried to call out the ones that really matched what the city said it wanted in a police chief. And one of the things that the city stipulated is that it wanted a police chief who has worked and been the chief of a major city police department. Well, there was a problem with that, though, that Austin in some ways ran into. And that is a number of people who expressed interest or formally applied for the job had documented disciplinary histories or maybe were under investigation currently.
Wow.
And so that became something of an issue. As we know, the city ultimately went forward with 2 finalists, including Chief Davis. The second one was the Milwaukee police chief, Chief Jeffrey Norman, but of course the city manager, T.C. Broadnax, who, by the way, is only now several months into his job, ultimately chose Chief Davis.
Do you think that she is the best option out of all the people that we could have chosen from?
Well, certainly the city manager and the city council think so.
Yeah.
That's the decision that they made. And to be clear, the decision rests with them, and it especially rests with the city manager. So whether or not she is successful or not also rolls downhill to him as well.
Yeah, that was kind of his first big test.
Exactly.
No, we had Councilmember Mackenzie Kelly on here, and she was expressing a little bit of, I guess I would say, trepidation for the final 2. And there seemed to be a little question as to like whether or not either of them would be ready to take on this type of city. What do you think changed? What can you speculate might have changed Councilmember Kelly's mind?
Well, I think a couple of things are at play. Number one, when the brand new city manager who you hired brings forward someone for you to appoint, I think that could potentially cause issues very early in his tenure, from his perspective, with him saying, look, you hired me to do this job. Doing this job includes hiring the police chief. So if you're not going to trust who I bring forward to you, that can potentially be a problem politically and just in terms of the functioning of city government. So I think that is certainly one of the issues. But I also think there was some discussion, though it was somewhat muted, about whether or not the city should, hit pause for a longer period of time to kind of maybe consider these 2 candidates, whether or not I think there was at least some backroom discussion about possibly trying to start the search all over again. But ultimately, that was decided that it would not be an appropriate way to go. But nationally, what we learned and understand to be true is that there is something of a void in law enforcement professionals at the executive level who are looking for that next chief job. And at least according to the police union here, they believe that that sort of Austin's reputation within the law enforcement arena, within that profession itself, that Austin may not enjoy the best reputation in law enforcement because of the politics at play on the ground here in the city.
Right. And along those lines, so after Davis was selected, I saw statements in her support from the Austin Police Women's Association, the Lesbian and Gay Peace Officers Association, and the Austin Police Association. So how do you think rank and file officers are feeling about her as the choice?
I think they are going into this with an open mind and hoping that this ultimately is a good pick for them. As you can imagine, there is always, anytime you get a new boss, whether it's me, you, or the people of the Austin Police Department, there's always a little bit of skepticism, always a little bit of a nervousness,
right,
I suppose. But one of the things, just as somebody who has covered that agency for a very long period of time, I'll be looking to see just what she does within those first 100 days that she's on the ground. And when I say what she does, I mean not only in the community, of course, but what she does internally, who she surrounds herself with, what she does with regard to her own executive team, and what voices within the community and within APD she listens to and takes feedback from early on.
Historically, Austinites and the police department have had a very, very rocky relationship, and the community interaction and trust has been really important to the police department's success. And that is, it seems like it's often, in turmoil. What do we know about Lisa Davis's perspective on involving the community and the public in policing?
Well, certainly as part of the interview process, she touts that as something that she brings to the table, that she has worked with diverse groups in her current city in Cincinnati. But Nikki, we always know how this goes. The proof will be once she gets here in Austin and what actually happens.
Exactly.
One thing to say all of those things in a job interview, and then quite another once they are here doing the job, how that all unfolds. But I can tell you there'll be a lot of people watching and paying very close attention to what happens.
So one thing she is going to have to tackle is this police contract.
Yeah.
Austin police officers' last long-term contract expired April 1st, 2023. Do you think that not having a chief for so long has affected the negotiation process for this police contract?
I think that it is certainly possible that that has played a role. Anytime there is a lack of stability, and I certainly don't want to say things are unstable necessarily within the ranks of APD.
But definitely uncertain.
They're uncertain, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think anytime that is in the backdrop of any kind of contract negotiations, that can play a role. But by nearly every account, the goal seems to be to get a contract in place and get it across the finish line and really go into 2025 with a new chief, a new contract, and a new vision and roadmap forward. So
another issue that we've heard a lot about is the staffing issues. It seems like they cannot get on top of this staffing deficit at the police department. What have we heard about how Lisa Davis is going to address that?
I think it's one of the main things that she is going to have to address among a list of other main things, but certainly recruitment, not just here in our community, but across the country is certainly going to be a goal. And to your point and to your question about the contract, what stipulations and what the Austin Police Department and City of Austin has to offer
Right.
prospective applicants is going to be a very big consideration, what they can sort of tout as the benefit of working in Austin and for the Austin Police Department.
So we know she's starting in September. Do you know what her salary will be? I'm curious because I know Chacon earned about like $250,000.
At least early in these discussions, there was some willingness to park it in the 300 range.
Okay, because $250,000 to be the police chief of we're now the 11th largest city in the nation sounds a bit low to me. Yeah. So what do you expect her biggest challenge is going to be?
Well, definitely the staffing challenge is one thing that she is going to have to really, I think, put front and center.
Right.
And then in the absence of being able to actually add more staff, really digging in and analyzing whether or not, and this has been part of the debate in our community, which is, are you using the staff that you do have in the most appropriate ways? And I think that will certainly be something that she has to consider as she moves forward. But also, I just want to say this too, Nikki, as someone who has kind of been around. She could be here for 5 minutes and have a crisis on her hands that you and I could never even predict as we sit here today. That is the absolute nature of policing in a major U.S. city. There could be some major crime, some major catastrophe that unfolds that could be a test for her right from the start.
We are going into 2025 with a pretty new city manager. We're going into 2025 with a brand spanking new APD chief and possibly a new mayor. We don't know.
Yeah.
Austin is going to be going through a pretty big transition on multiple levels and in multiple layers. What do you think is going to be the best way to make sure everybody is on the same page?
Yeah, marching at the same speed.
Yeah.
I think that is, to a large extent, the job of the city council, but that can also be, challenging as well. I think we're going to have to wait and really see how that unfolds. All the more reason to pay attention to your local news sources.
Yep.
Which will be covering this along the way.
Now, is there anything else that you want to add about Lisa Davis or her selection as Austin's next police chief that I haven't asked you or we haven't discussed?
I just think it will be interesting to see what she does, what her vision really is once she has time to get in here, have her feet on the ground and really take a temperature of what is happening, not only in that department, but within the city of Austin as well.
Well, she definitely has her work cut out for her, but I'm excited about getting to know her and seeing what she does. It feels like it's going to be a nice little shake-up for kind of like maybe for a change. She couldn't be in a better city. I'm glad she's here. Tony, thank you so much for being with me today and debriefing me.
You're the best. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Next up, let's walk a mile in DJ Chorizo Funk's boots. Brought to you by our launch sponsor, Tecovas. Hey everybody, I'm Nikki Devon. I'm here with DJ Chorizo Funk. What is up?
Hello, how's it going, Nikki?
Good. So first off, tell everybody, who are you?
So DJ Chorizo Funk, Austin-based DJ, been DJing here for a little over 15 years. I just represent like a lot of different folks, a lot of different communities. I bring, all the stuff that I do with music to all the different kind of crowds and the different groups of people that I play for.
You are everywhere. You're not just in one place DJing on a Saturday. So let's talk about your job.
Traditionally, with a lot of DJs, they kind of have specific residencies and they're at, a certain bar or club, every Friday or every Saturday. For me, it's different. And I do a lot of special events fair amount of corporate events, drag shows. I'm doing the skate party for Austin Pride, pool sets, b-boy competitions. I've just been really plugged in here. I did the stadium gig for Austin FC, where I was, the in-house, DJ for that year. I do a party also, multiple parties, and one of them is called Body Rock. I'm just pretty much, all over the place, and it's always different every week.
So how did you get into this line of work?
I always loved music. Growing up, I had, extensive CD collection and everything, but I hadn't really witnessed many DJs perform live. And so it wasn't until really I started going out here in Austin in the early 2000s and the DJs that were out in the clubs that were really like mixing music and were really dedicated to the craft of what DJing is what really inspired me. DJ Mel, DJ Chicken George, Baby G, Nick Nack, the attention to detail that they had and the way they used, the skills and the talent they had to kind of create a new experience with the music. And that's really what, inspired me, was like hearing two songs kind of mixed together in a creative way was something I had never imagined. And I wanted to do that. From there, it was just a lot of practice and doing my homework. I persevered and I did.
I love it. I love it. So let's walk a mile in your boots. What does your average typical day look like?
I'm sole proprietor here. So, booking inquiries, graphics and, editing things and social media and all that type of stuff. Aside from, eventually like the music part of it, I'm always trying to, discover and hear things that are either new or just new to me. Ideally, when I'm not having to do a lot of stuff on the computer or on the phone, and I can just focus on music, then eventually, if time allows, to actually like practice with my hands, on, either the turntables or the controller and coming up with different ideas that way.
Where does Bonnie fit into your average day? Because I'm obsessed.
So Bonnie, the Basset Hound, she's a 10-year-old Basset Hound. She fits in on the couch, knocked out and getting all the rest that she can from, carrying her long, heavy ears all over town.
Oh my God, I love her so much. Okay, so why does your work matter to you?
Definitely was deeply inspired by, those DJs that I mentioned, and they, were, so dedicated to the craft and so focused on the skill and the art of DJing. That's something that has stayed with me. And it's something that I strive for. And I try to always kind of bring to kind of have a unique lane. When you love and you're inspired by something and you can just get to practice it and do it and try and get better at it, it's really like a great feeling.
And then also, why does your work matter in Austin?
I'm able to connect different people in Austin. When it comes to music and people's, musical choices and what they like, there's an underlying kind of like emotional connection to it. Some of it is like from their background. Some of it's from when they grew up, from their community, from their family. And it's just kind of putting those blocks together and doing it, in a creative way. The experience that people can have on a dance floor can be a really unifying thing that doesn't happen necessarily outside of the dance floor. It's a really unique thing. And it's definitely something that, one, I love to create and I love to be part of.
When you're done doing all your work, how do you relax? Where do you go to relax?
Austin has a lot to offer in terms of the outdoors, whether it's like Lake Travis, or different, parks and access to water. So yeah, it's a lot of kind of like outdoor stuff when the heat gets a little too crazy, which happens often around here.
Yeah.
I would definitely say poolside, with friends, just kind of like taking it easy. And yeah, and also like catching, other DJs and catching sets, whenever I can.
Chorizo, thank you for being here. We'll link to Chorizo's info in our show notes, so you are just a click away from getting some booty sweat and some good tunes. Thank you for listening, and thanks again to Tecovas for sponsoring this interview. That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find the links to Tony Plahetsky's work in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.